My name is Clara Whitmore. I was 33 years old when I learned that being the reliable daughter did not make me loved. It only made me useful. 6 weeks earlier, I had given birth to my son, Elias. He was tiny, warm, always sleeping with one hand curled near his cheek like he was holding onto a secret. Then, on a wet Thursday night, a delivery van ran a red light on Maple Avenue while I was driving home from the pharmacy. I remember the headlights. I remember the horn. I remember thinking, not now. And then I woke up in a hospital bed with 2 cracked ribs, a fractured wrist, stitches above my eyebrow, and a nurse asking me if I knew my own name. My husband, Aaron, was 3 states away for a work emergency. The babysitter had already stayed 2 hours longer than she could. My newborn needed someone. My parents lived 18 minutes from my house, so Aaron called them. My mother answered, and she said no, not because she was sick, not because she was out of town, not because she couldn't drive. She said she couldn't come because my younger brother's dog was anxious during storms, and someone had to stay with him. A dog. My 6-week-old son needed a safe adult for the night, and my mother chose a dog. Then she said the sentence that changed the rest of my life. Clara always turns everything into a crisis. I was lying there with blood dried into my hair, a hospital bracelet tight around my wrist, and my baby waiting at home with a sitter who could not stay. And my mother decided I was being dramatic. I did not cry. That surprises people when I tell them. They expect the woman in the hospital bed to break. They expect sobbing, shaking, begging. But I did not break. I stared at the ceiling tile above me, one small brown water stain near the corner, and something inside me became very still. Not healed. Not calm. Still. There is a difference. The first thing I did was solve the real problem, because that is what I had always done. With my left hand, because my right wrist was wrapped and useless, I called the emergency childcare service Aaron and I had registered with before Elias was born. A woman named Marcy answered. I told her my name, my address, my son's age, the situation, and the entry code to the house. I spoke like I was reading from a report. No shaking, no pleading, no drama. 45 minutes later, a licensed night nurse sent me a photo of Elias sleeping in his crib, his lips slightly open, one fist pressed against his cheek. Safe. Warm. Watched. Only then did I let my phone rest against my chest. The nurse beside my bed asked softly, "Do you have family nearby?" I looked at the photo again. Then I said, "Apparently not. You should understand who I was before that night. Because people like my parents do not use you all at once. They use you slowly. A favor here. A bill there. A crisis. A promise. A guilt trip wrapped in the word family. I grew up in a small house outside Dayton, Ohio. The kind of house where the front step cracked in winter and nobody ever fixed it because there was always something more urgent. My father worked when he wanted to. My mother worked everyone. My younger brother, Ryan, was the golden child from the moment he was born. He was loud, charming, messy, expensive, always almost starting something, always almost changing. I was the quiet one, the responsible one, the one who filled out forms, remembered appointments, got scholarships, worked weekends, and learned very early that praise only came when I made someone else's life easier. By 28, I was a compliance manager for a medical billing company. Numbers, rules, records. That was my world. People lied. Receipts did not. For 8 years, I had been sending my parents $3,800 every month. I never called it support. That word sounded too honest. I called it helping. I told myself I was helping with Dad's medications, with Mom's utilities, with the old house, with Ryan's temporary setbacks. There is always a word like temporary in families like mine. Temporary is how they keep you paying for permanent behavior. The transfers came out automatically on the 1st of every month. $1,500 for household expenses, $900 for Dad's medication, $700 for property tax, $700 for Ryan until he got back on his feet. 8 years, 96 months, $364,800. I had never said that full number out loud. Not to Aaron, not even to myself, because sometimes the truth is not hidden from you. Sometimes you hide it from yourself because knowing it would require you to change, and change is expensive when everyone has been living off your silence. That night, after Elias was safe, I opened my banking app. The screen glowed in the dim hospital room. Recurring transfers. There they were. 4 lines. 4 little machines that had been quietly draining my life while my mother told relatives I never did enough. I clicked the first one. Cancel transfer. The app asked if I was sure. I almost laughed. Sure. The word looked ridiculous. I tapped yes. Recurring transfer canceled. The second, canceled. The third, canceled. The fourth, canceled. 4 taps, maybe 30 seconds, and 8 years stopped. Not with shouting, not with revenge music, not with a courtroom, just a thumb against glass, a quiet account closing in the dark. I felt nothing at first. Not victory, not sadness, just a strange, clean emptiness, like finally setting down bags you forgot you were carrying. Then my phone buzzed. It was Ryan. Not my mother, not my father. Ryan. He was calling from some bar, judging by the noise behind him. I answered because pain medication makes you curious. Clara, he said, annoyed before hello. Did you mess with the card? The card. I looked at the IV taped to my arm. What card? The emergency card Mom gave me. It declined. I listened. There are moments in life when a sentence opens a door you did not know was there. This was one of them. What emergency? I asked. He scoffed. Don't start. I just needed gas and a few things. Mom said the family account handles it. The family account. That was what they called me. Not my name. Not my work. Not my sacrifice. The family account. I asked him if he knew I had been in a car accident. There was a pause. Then he said, Yeah, Mom said you got bumped or whatever. Bumped. I had stitches above my eye and a chest that felt like it had been slammed in a door. He continued, Look, can you fix this tonight? I have plans tomorrow. I hung up. Not angrily. Not dramatically. I simply removed the phone from my ear and pressed end. There are people who will stand in the ashes of your life and ask whether the smoke is going to inconvenience them. Ryan was one of those people. The next morning, Aaron arrived at the hospital, carrying Elias in his car seat and wearing the same shirt from the day before. His eyes were red. He looked at my face, my wrist, the bruises spreading across my collarbone, and his mouth tightened like he was holding something back with both hands. I told him Elias was safe. He said, I know. Then he set our son carefully against my good side and lowered the hospital bed rail so I could see him better. Elias made a tiny sound in his sleep, and for 1 minute, there was no family, no money, no betrayal, only my son breathing against me and my husband's hand resting on my shoulder. Then Aaron took out his phone. I need to show you something. It was the family group chat, Whitmore family, 32 messages. My mother had been busy. Her first message read, Please pray for Clara. She had a minor accident last night and is using it as a reason to punish us financially. We are heartbroken. We have always done everything for her, but some people only remember family when they need attention. Minor accident. Attention. Financially punish us. I read it twice. Then I saw my Aunt Linda reply, I always knew she had a cold side. A cousin wrote, Your parents are getting older. Shameful. My mother replied with a broken heart emoji. Then this, We are worried about the baby too, but Clara has always been possessive and dramatic. I stared at that word. Dramatic. There it was again. A label used to make my pain sound like theater. I handed the phone back to Aaron. He looked ready to say something kind, something husband-like, something soft. I stopped him. Bring me my laptop. He blinked. Clara, please. He brought it that afternoon. And I did what I do when the room is full of lies. I opened the records. 8 years of bank statements. 96 months. Every transfer. Every withdrawal. Every note. Every category I had trusted because I believed trust made me a good daughter. It took hours because my wrist hurt and the medication made the screen swim sometimes. But I kept going. I exported everything. Sorted it. Filtered it. Matched dates. Compared deposits, created a clean sheet, a simple one, because truth does not need decoration. The numbers built the story cell by cell. Dad's actual medication costs were not $900 a month. They averaged $230. The property tax had been paid for my transfers only twice in 8 years. The house utilities were irregular, but the cash withdrawals were not. Every month, within 2 days of my transfer, money came out. ATM withdrawals, liquor store charges, online gambling deposits, Ryan's truck payments, Ryan's phone, Ryan's business course, Ryan's failed landscaping company, Ryan's dog trainer. The anxious dog had apparently received more consistent support than my son. Out of $364,800, only $41,300 could be matched to real household needs. The rest had been swallowed by my mother's spending, my father's silence, and my brother's endless almost. I sat there with the laptop balanced on the rolling hospital table and let the numbers breathe, because numbers have a sound when they finally tell the truth. Not loud, heavy.
Aaron stood behind me and said quietly, "I didn't know it was this much. Neither did I. That was the shame of it. Not that they had taken, but that I had learned to disappear inside the taking." That evening, while I was still staring at the spreadsheet, the hospital room door opened. An old man stood there in a brown wool coat, rain shining on the shoulders. My grandfather, Arthur Vale. My mother's father, 81 years old, straight-backed, stubborn. The kind of man who still polished his shoes before going to the grocery store. He held a black folder under one arm. Not new, not neat, old, bent at the corners, heavy with papers. I had not called him. I had not told him which hospital. But there he was. He looked at me for a long moment, at the bandage on my forehead, at the cast, at Elias sleeping near my hip. Then his jaw moved once. "Your mother said it was a fender bender." I said nothing. He stepped inside and closed the door behind him. "She also said you were being dramatic." His eyes lowered to the folder. I have heard that word from her mouth for 30 years. He sat in the visitor chair slowly, one hand on the folder, the other on his cane. Then he said the sentence that changed everything. "Your grandmother knew." The room seemed to shrink around those 3 words. My grandmother, Evelyn, had died 11 months earlier. Quietly, I was told. Peacefully, I was told. Without unfinished business, I was told. Grandpa Arthur looked at me like he had carried that lie long enough. "She knew about the money," he said. "Not all of it at first, but enough. She knew your mother was bleeding you dry and calling it family." I felt my throat tighten for the first time that day. Not from pain, from recognition. Grandpa opened the folder but did not take anything out yet. "Evelyn asked me to wait until your mother forced the truth into the open. I hoped she wouldn't." He gave a dry little breath that was not a laugh. "But your mother has never met a stage she didn't want to perform on." I asked him what was in the folder. He tapped it once. "Proof. And a decision your grandmother made before she died." I looked at Aaron. He looked as confused as I felt. Grandpa's voice lowered. "Not tonight. You need rest. But when your mother gathers everyone to shame you, call me." I stared at him. "How do you know she will?" He looked almost sad. "Because she is my daughter." And that was all he said. 2 days later, my mother sent the invitation. A Sunday dinner. Her message went to the whole family group. "Let's gather as a family and clear the air. Clara, we hope you will come with the baby so we can move past this painful misunderstanding." Misunderstanding. That is what she called it. The night she refused my newborn. The lie she told the family. The money. The years. The word dramatic placed over my hospital bed like a sheet. A misunderstanding. Aaron said we did not have to go. He was right. We did not. But I understood the shape of the trap. My mother wanted me in a room full of relatives. She wanted witnesses. She wanted to cry. She wanted to remind everyone that she gave birth to me, fed me, clothed me, raised me. She wanted to turn my truth into cruelty. And she wanted me to apologize for making everyone uncomfortable with facts. So I texted back one sentence. "We'll be there." Then I called Grandpa. He answered on the first ring. "She did it?" he asked. "Yes." There was a pause. Then the sound of paper moving. "I'll bring the folder." On Sunday, I dressed slowly, painfully. There is no graceful way to button a shirt with one working hand and cracked ribs. Aaron helped me with my coat. Elias slept through all of it, innocent and warm, unaware that half his family had already failed him once. Before we left, I printed one page. Just one. The summary. 8 years, $364,800. Real expenses. False expenses. Withdrawals. Ryan support. Online gambling. Every lie reduced to rows. I folded it once and placed it inside the diaper bag under the extra blanket. My mother had always won with emotion. I was bringing paper. When we pulled up to my parents' house, the porch light was on, though it was still afternoon. Cars lined the curb. My Aunt Linda. My cousin Joel. Ryan's truck. Two neighbors my mother called basically family when she wanted an audience. Grandpa Arthur arrived behind us in his old Buick. He stepped out carefully, black folder held tight against his side. He looked at me. "You ready?" I touched the hospital bracelet I had kept in my coat pocket. They had cut one off when I was admitted and replaced it after imaging. I had asked to keep the first one. I did not know why then. I knew now. Proof does not have to be pretty. Sometimes it is just a strip of plastic with your name on it. "I'm ready," I said. Inside, the house smelled like pot roast and performance. My mother had cooked. Of course she had. She always cooked when she wanted to look innocent. She came toward us with her arms open, eyes already wet. "Oh, my baby," she said. Not to me, to Elias. She reached for the car seat. Aaron moved it slightly behind him. Not aggressively. Just enough. My mother's hands paused in the air. A small thing. But the room saw it. She recovered quickly. Performers always do. She turned to everyone and gave a fragile smile. "I'm just grateful Clara came. This has been the most painful week of my life. Her life." I stood there with stitches above my eyebrow and bruises under my collarbone while she said that. Her life. She guided everyone into the dining room. Coffee cups appeared. Plates. Napkins. The little rituals of a family pretending to be civilized before it starts chewing someone alive. My father sat at the end of the table, silent as always. He looked older than I remembered. Or maybe I had finally stopped seeing him as someone who might save me. Ryan leaned against the kitchen counter, scrolling his phone. His dog, the anxious one, was asleep in a heated bed near the fireplace. That almost made me laugh. Almost. My mother began gently. She told the room she loved me, that she had always loved me, that no mother was perfect, that she was shocked I would suddenly withdraw support without a conversation. She said my father's health was fragile. She said Ryan was trying. She said family should not keep score. That sentence was my favorite. Family should not keep score. Spoken by a woman who had been spending from my scoreboard for 8 years. Then she turned toward me, her face soft, her voice wounded, and she said it. "I just don't understand why Clara always turns everything into a crisis." There it was. The hospital sentence. Dressed up for dinner. My Aunt Linda sighed. Ryan rolled his eyes. My mother pressed a tissue under one eye. The room waited. They expected me to defend myself. To explain. To shake. To become the dramatic woman they had already named. I did not give them that woman. I reached into the diaper bag, pulled out the folded sheet, opened it, smoothed it against the table with my left hand. Then I placed it in the center, beside the salt shaker. "This is not a crisis," I said. "This is an audit. Nobody moved." My mother blinked. I turned the page so everyone could read it. For 8 years, I sent this family $364,800. Aunt Linda's mouth opened slightly. Ryan looked up. My father closed his eyes. I continued. Out of that, $41,300 went to real household expenses and Dad's medication. I tapped the first section. The rest went to cash withdrawals, online gambling deposits, Ryan's bills, Ryan's truck, Ryan's dog expenses, and charges I was told were medical but were not. The room changed. That is the only way I can describe it. Air has weight when a lie loses its shape. My mother stood too quickly. "That is private family business." I looked at her. "No. It was private when I was paying it quietly. You made it family business when you told everyone I was cruel from a hospital bed." She flinched at that. Not from guilt, from being corrected in public. Ryan stepped forward. "Okay, wait. Are you saying all that came from you?" I looked at him. Yes. His face shifted. Confusion first. Then embarrassment. Then irritation, because embarrassment always made Ryan angry. "Mom said it was from the family account." I nodded. "I know." He stared at my mother. For the first time in his life, the golden child looked at the hand that had fed him and saw someone else's fingerprints on the spoon. My mother pointed at the page. "She is twisting it. Clara has always been good with numbers. She can make numbers say anything." That was almost funny, because numbers were the only things in that room that had not been coached. I opened my mouth to respond, but Grandpa Arthur moved first. He set his cane against the chair. Then he placed the black folder beside my page. The sound was soft, but everyone heard it. My mother's face changed. Just a little. Enough. "Dad," she said carefully, "this does not involve you." Grandpa looked at her. "It involved me the moment your mother asked me to make sure Clara was protected from you." The room went silent. Not quiet. Silent. He opened the folder. Inside were bank records, letters, legal pages, copies of checks, and a document with a law firm's name printed across the top. My mother's tissue froze in her hand. Grandpa removed the first document and laid it flat. Before Evelyn died, she changed her estate plan. My mother whispered, "No, just that. No, not what do you mean, not why. No, because some part of her already knew." Grandpa continued, "The house remains available for Margaret and Thomas to live in while they are alive. Evelyn was not cruel, but ownership does not pass to Margaret. It is held in trust." He looked at me then. "For Clara and Elias." My Aunt Linda whispered, "Elias?" Grandpa nodded. Evelyn said the child of the daughter who carried everyone should never have to carry everyone too. I looked down. For the first time, my eyes burned. Not because of my mother, because of my grandmother, because someone had seen me. Late, but still. Seen. My mother made a sound that was almost a laugh. A terrible, thin thing. "You can't do that. This is my home." Grandpa's voice stayed level. "It was your mother's home. You lived in it because she allowed it. You spent Clara's money because Clara allowed it. Both allowances are now over." My father's hands trembled on the table. My mother turned on him. "Say something." He looked at her, then at me. For 1 second, I thought he might stand. Not physically. Morally. Just once. He swallowed. "Margaret," he said softly, "she did help us. A lot." My mother's eyes sharpened, and my father looked back down. That was all. That was his courage. 1 sentence. Then retreat. And somehow, that helped me. Because I finally understood that waiting for someone weak to become brave is its own kind of prison. I released him from the role I had written for him, and I released myself from waiting. Ryan picked up the paper. His eyes moved across the rows. His truck, his rent, his gym membership, his dog trainer, his cash, his life. Paid for by the sister he called uptight. He looked younger suddenly. Not innocent. Just unprepared. "I didn't know," he said. I believed him. That did not make it better. Not knowing who pays for your comfort is not innocence. It is luxury. My mother began to cry then. Real tears or fake ones. I could no longer tell, and I no longer cared. She said she was scared. She said she had been under pressure. She said parents make mistakes. She said I had no idea what it was like to raise children. That last one made Aaron's head lift. But I touched his arm. No, not because she deserved peace. Because I did. My mother looked at me with wet eyes. "Clara, honey, we can fix this." Honey. That word had always been a hook. I reached into my coat pocket and took out the hospital bracelet. White plastic. Bent. Ugly. My name printed in black. Admission date. Time. Emergency department. I placed it on the table beside the spreadsheet and the folder. "This is where I was," I said, "when Aaron called you." My mother's mouth tightened. "This is unfair." "No," I said. "It is exact." Then I looked around the room, at my aunt, at Ryan, at my father, at the neighbors who suddenly wished they had stayed home. At 9:14 p.m., Aaron asked you to drive 18 minutes to sit with your newborn grandson because I was in this hospital. You refused because Ryan's dog was anxious. Then you told people I was being dramatic. Nobody spoke. Even the dog slept through it. I picked up the bracelet and looped it once around the handle of Elias's car seat. A small white band on a blue handle. That was the whole story. Not the money. Not the house. Not even the folder. That band was the line. Before it, I was the daughter who paid. After it, I was the mother who stopped. My mother reached for me. I stepped back. Not far. Just enough. She noticed. Everyone noticed. "Clara," she said, and this time her voice was smaller. "You're still our daughter." I nodded. "I know." Then I lifted Elias's car seat. "But I am his mother first." Those words did not come out loud. They did not need to. They came out clean. That was enough. Aaron took the diaper bag. Grandpa gathered the folder. I took my 1-page audit. We walked toward the door. Behind me, my mother started talking again. Threats first. Lawyers. Ungrateful. Manipulated. Then pleading. Family. Mistake. Stress. then crying. But her voice had lost its power. It sounded like a radio playing in another room. Something you notice only because you are already leaving. At the doorway, Ryan said my name. I turned. He looked at the floor, then at the car seat. I really didn't know, he said again. I looked at him for a long moment. I know, I said. Now you do. Then I walked out. I did not slam the door. Slamming a door means you still want the house to hear you. I did not need to be heard anymore. The account was closed. Here is how it settled. Because stories like this do not end at the door. They echo. My mother called 2 lawyers. Both told her what Grandpa already knew. The trust was clean. The paperwork was strong. My grandmother had known exactly what she was doing. My parents still live in the house. The trust allows that. I did not throw them out. I am not interested in becoming cruel just because cruelty raised me. But the money stopped. Completely. No monthly transfers. No emergency deposits. No family account. No quiet rescue. My father calls sometimes from the grocery store parking lot, always when he is alone. We talk about his prescriptions, the weather, Elias's new teeth. He never says enough, but he says more than he used to. Ryan got a job at a warehouse after his truck was nearly repossessed. He sold the expensive dog bed, kept the dog. That part surprised me. Maybe responsibility begins with one creature you cannot invoice to your sister. My Aunt Linda sent me a message 3 weeks later. Just one line. I did not know. I wrote back, now you do. My mother did not apologize. People ask me that all the time. Did she ever say sorry? No. She sent long messages, Bible verses, old photos, voice notes, then silence, then anger again. Then a birthday card for Elias with no return address, as if handwriting could disguise control. I kept the card. Not for him. For the folder. Grandpa comes over every Sunday now. He brings pastries and pretends they are for Aaron, but they are always the kind I like. Sometimes he sits in the rocking chair with Elias asleep on his chest and looks toward the window like he is talking to my grandmother somewhere beyond the glass. One evening, he told me Evelyn's last clear sentence. I had never heard it before. She had taken his hand and said, "Don't let them turn Clara into me." I cried then. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough. Because grief is strange. You can survive betrayal dry-eyed. Then collapse when someone finally names what happened to you. The hospital bracelet still hangs from Elias's baby box. I know that sounds odd. Most mothers keep first socks, first hats, hospital blankets. I kept the proof of the night I stopped being available for abandonment. Someday, when Elias is old enough, I will tell him the truth carefully, not as poison, as protection. I will tell him that family can be beautiful. But family can also become a word people use when they want access without accountability. I will teach him that being dependable is good. Being consumed is not. I will teach him that love does not require automatic payments. And if he ever finds himself lying in a hospital bed, needing someone, I hope he knows exactly who to call. Not because they owe him, because they love him. That is the difference my parents never learned, and that is the difference I intend to give my son. If there is one thing I learned from a car accident, a newborn, 4 canceled transfers, and an old man with a black folder, it is this. The people who call you dramatic are often the same people who benefit from your silence. And the day you stop explaining your pain to people committed to misunderstanding it is the day your real life finally begins. My name is Clara Whitmore. I was once the family account. Now I am simply Elias's mother. And that is more than enough.